Welcome to another episode on the Total Space Network. Today we are chatting with Felix from What About It. Hey Felix.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to the talk.
Great. And I'm Mikko, and we also have Jack here.
Hello, everyone.
Alright, so first up, Felix, I'm quite interested in how the move from Germany to Florida went.
Oh, yeah, that is a mega project comparable to building Starbase, in my opinion. In hindsight, it was a lot of work. The visa application, we started the whole process of preparing for the move and everything we needed 3 years back. So it's been a wild ride of all sorts of roadblocks, and COVID came in the middle of all that, and we put it on hold, and then we started it again. And but yeah, in the end, it wasn't the move itself wasn't that bad at all. It went just fine, and now we've been here since April 26th. We're well acclimatized to Florida by now, and we honestly right now couldn't think about living anywhere else. We love it here very much. So it was the right decision, and we're very happy to be here. We're right next to the launch pads, and yeah, it's incredible. We love it very much.
Yeah, glad to hear that. Well, speaking of the launch pads, how many launches have you seen, or have you already lost count?
It's more than 10 already, which is incredible because we haven't been here half the time. So second night we were here, we watched the first launch, and I think that was Crew 4, which was a night launch, and it was incredible to watch. And since then, we've watched every launch we were here for. But since being the host of What About It is a very busy job, we've been all over the place already. We've been at Starbase once since we were here. We've done a road trip all the way up to Washington for 2 weeks. We've seen all sorts of people because contacts are ramping up here like crazy for us, because everybody has noticed that the Y family has moved to Florida, and so we're getting all sorts of requests and calls from people who want to talk, and so we're very busy. But yeah, it must have been at least 10, 15 launches we've seen in person. We've already lost track, and it's a wonderful feeling to lose track of something that you like to do the most. Is just great. We've seen everything. We've seen return to launch site. We've seen day launches. We've seen night launches. We've seen twilight effects. We've seen all sorts of different rockets, from Astra to ULA to SpaceX. Soon we're going to see Artemis, which is pretty incredible because I and my wife Steffi, we both got accredited for it. So we're going to do the 3-day tour at NASA, getting a VAB tour for the first time in person, walking into it. All sorts of interview opportunities we're going to get. And then, of course, on the third day, we're going to see the Artemis 1 launch from the press site, which is 2.5 miles away from the pads. It's like, boom. I'm so looking forward to that. We've got... Yeah, we've already stocked up our equipment, so we have a 600 millimeter lens in place now, which is going to make some great pictures and videos. And if we can at all, and since we're 2 people being there, we are planning to live stream it from the press site right now, which is going to be the most epic live stream I've ever done. Like maybe serial number 8 was really epic as well. But yeah, that's like streaming an Artemis launch from the press site. That would be a bucket list item. And so yeah, it's living right next to it is a different thing. Definitely is.
Yeah. I would think you may need Starlink for the live stream, since everyone will be there.
Do.
Yeah, good.
We have Starlink. Yes,
Awesome.
we have everything.
Awesome.
We have the cameras, microphones, Starlink, everything in place already. So we can, I think, especially because we're going to be 2 people. Because with 1 person, it's almost impossible to handle all the stuff, handle the equipment, and be in front of the camera at a remote site is, I wouldn't know how to do it. especially in the time window you get, because you're not at the press site for like 2 hours or so. You get 45 minutes, and then you're gone again, basically. So within that time frame, it's really hard. But with Steffi, it should work.
So if you are going to beat the SN8 live stream, that's gonna have to be over 8 hours.
Oh yeah. No, that's not in length. It's going to be much shorter than that. I mean, I might be able to ask NASA if I can stay there for 8 hours, but I don't
Probably
think so.
not.
No.
I basically do a show here about Starship and all that, so I'm going to ask you, what intrigued you about Starship operations to start making videos about it?
It's basically, it's SpaceX. It's not just Starship. SpaceX has overtaken the whole launch market by now. This morning, I looked at the new statistics of Q2 of launches payload to space, and it's 156 tons right now for SpaceX, and the rest of the world has done 60 tons or something like that. And that's a testament. SpaceX has taken everything over by now. Even Northrop Grumman is doing contracts for Cygnus for 2023, which I find incredible, because it's one of those signals that the market is understanding that there is no way past SpaceX anymore. And Starship is just that fantastic project on top of everything that SpaceX is doing. And if that works out, it's going to revolutionize everything. I have my two sisters here for a visit right now, one from Milwaukee here in the United States, and the other one from France. And they know the basic stuff about space. You know, they know what a space shuttle is and that we landed on the moon, but it's not much more than that. And so they've been asking me tons of questions about the Starship, and that made me realize again how important Starship actually is. For when you look into this project, like we all do here, the three of us, you lose track of you tend to lose track of what's the basic problems that SpaceX is trying to solve here, because we're more involved with bar pressure in the main combustion chamber and how many spin tests they've done, and looking at slow-mos of cryogenic tests and stuff like that. But in the end, it all comes down to them reducing the price of kilograms to orbit. And if they actually pull this off, reducing it as much as they want to, it's going to change everything. And who wouldn't want to follow that closely? So that's the whole idea behind it. Is I don't want to miss out on it. If this works, I want to be part of it. And so SpaceX and Starship especially is just a focus point, because it's so important. SLS is going to be beautiful to see. I've talked about it already, but it's already outdated, to be frank. And so the Starship program is so much more interesting to me. From a space exploration standpoint, and from the engineering standpoint, and from the future prospect and everything. So that's the reason.
Since we are talking about Starship, when do you think the orbital launch will be?
It's the one question I can't really answer. Right now, it's you can always just predict this kind of stuff from what you see right now, because you can't look into the future, and it's a prototype program. So if something bad happens tomorrow, it could delay the whole program by another 2 months or half a year or whatever. But right now, they're making quick progress with the static fires. Everything seems to be working out fine, even though they had a slight chopstick hydraulics problem that didn't delay anything at all. So if they proceed with this without any major hiccups coming from now until the orbital launch, I do think they might be able to do it in August. So not even within the next 4 weeks, because that would already be past August. I'm talking within the month, so until the 31st. But then there is this whole SLS conspiracy theory of NASA not wanting to launch the Starship before SLS, which could actually be. You never know. It's a political thing. SLS is very political. So it could be. And if that's the case, it would be after the SLS launch, which would be in 5 to 6 weeks. So if there are no major hiccups, I think definitely by mid-September we can see the orbital launch, and that would make my day. Because I'm planning to go to Starbase on September 9th. And if it turns out to be mid-September, which I'm thinking right now, I think that is the most plausible time window would be the 2nd to the 3rd week of September. And if that works out, I might be there. I would love to see that. So yeah, mid of September would be my bet right now.
Yeah, I said this in my most recent video I literally recorded today. There is rumours Elon has called in the army again for Monday.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we could see a further push.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, if there is no major hiccup, because that's the problem with prototyping, you never know. It could be tomorrow that they have an engine failure and that it rips half of the engine section of the booster away, and that means they have to prepare B8, and then it goes on. It's prototyping. You never know. But if there is no problem anymore, they are very close now. Everything's set. Everything's working the way it should be. It's not all 100% done. I always hear people saying, but yeah, they're working on the orbital launch farm, and the Mechazilla isn't finished yet either. It's true, but it's good enough for a launch. Everything that is left wouldn't necessarily be needed for an orbital launch. So it could happen anytime soon.
Do you think SpaceX will use ROFEs for underneath the orbital launch table? The things the shuttle used to burn off excess hydrogen for methane.
Oh, sparkers. Well, we've all seen what happened, and it's one of those facepalm moments, in my opinion. Even Elon Musk tweeted that they have sensors under the pad and that he doesn't know what happened there. So that basically it means him being mad that something happened, obviously, because it shouldn't have, because they have sensors. I'm surprised that they don't have any sparkers yet, because if you use engines that tend to create a combustible atmosphere under the launch mode before you're launching, you should burn it off or blow it away or do anything with it so that it can combust. Since blowing it away or saturating it with a non-flammable gas and stuff like that is very unreliable, you use sparkers and they just create a little puff and that's it. So like I said, these have been used for decades now in the launch industry, and I was very surprised to find that SpaceX knew about the possibility of combustible atmosphere building up under the launch mount and not having sparkers at the same time, because a sparker is an incredibly simple device. It just creates sparks, and that's it. And so, yeah, I think they should install sparkers, but the whole orbital launch mount for me is a question mark. Still is. No flame diverter. It's blasting 33 Raptor engines against a plane surface, which is a bad idea in my opinion anyway, because it sends shockwaves, heat, everything just right back at the rocket. No matter how quick the rocket launches, I mean, we all know it's 1.5 thrust to weight ratio, so it's going to take off really quick. But still, you do if you can easily get rid of it, why try it, you know? And so I don't know why there's no flame diverter, no sparkers, no nothing under it. It's a question mark to me, because just putting a simple cone under the launch mount, which would still be possible, no problem at all, would reduce the shock waves by like 50% easily. Yeah, on the other hand, though, SpaceX is the company building the most advanced rockets in the world, because they are launching Falcon 9s that land boosters on landing zones and boats. They have the Crew Dragon, they have the Cargo Dragon. They are showing the whole industry how it's done. So they must know, is all I repeat all the time when these question marks come up. I'm like, they must know. They are building the Starship, and it's their development process, and for us it's easy to stand on the outside and say, hey, duh, why didn't you do this? You don't know what they're talking about internally. So yes, use sparkers, use flame diverters. I'm pro flame diverters.
The problem with sparkles though, are can you get them reused though? Like, so would it only mean like one static fire per window, because it would have to be replaced every time?
But I'm pretty sure you could easily design a sparker that can be reused. I know a lot of things that create sparks reliably and that can be reused. It can't be that hard, you know. It just really can't be that hard. So I'm pretty sure you could easily. I mean, even if you're probably referring to the sparkers on the space shuttle launch structure, exactly. But let's just say if they weren't reusable, it should still be pretty easy to create a reusable sparker that just turns on and off and does that for 20 years. Just refill the spark material, whatever you're using there. If it's flint or metal that you flex off or whatever you do, it should be pretty easy.
Spark material.
If you manage to build a Starship, you can build a sparker that is reusable. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Couple of questions more about the channel and people behind it. How has What About It changed after getting Chief on board?
A lot. Chief and many other people working in the background that most people don't even know about means independence for us. And that is very, very important for me because of a very competitive team space when it comes to creating pictures and videos. You know it. We all know it. If you don't have your own pictures, it's hard to talk about stuff because there are copyrights everywhere, and everybody wants to has a special rule set you have to stick to, and some don't even some of the biggest players don't allow you to use their footage at all, and so on and so forth. So for me, it is really, really important to have photographers, to have people who are free for access for us. And to give you the next answer there, What About It doesn't have a copyright policy. So as long as you mention that the content is from What About It visually on the picture, you're free to use pictures, videos, whatever we spit out. And I think everybody should handle it like that. But since not everybody does handle it like that, it's very important for us. We just got our photographer in McGregor as well, Justin Schwartz, who just recently joined the team, which I'm very happy about because that'll give us videos of Raptor engine tests. And so it's independence. That's all it is about. If you want to talk about everything, you need pictures and videos. And Kevin Chief does an absolutely fantastic job at Starbase, so it's great to have him. He's going to be here for Artemis 1 as well. It's going to be a company trip, so we are financing the trip for him, where he's going to sleep in our house because he's become a friend of ours by now, and it's. I mean, Miko, you know it. You've been on the What About It team for quite some time, and it's just a lovely bunch.
Yep, for sure.
And, so, yeah, I wouldn't want to miss any of them. And Chief is a main part of the team by now.
Yeah, absolutely. Then going back to Florida, are you going to do more helicopter tours?
Yes.
Or flyovers?
Yes. So right now the plan is to be at Pad 39A at least twice a week and do a helicopter flight once a week. So often, like as often as we can, because it's ramping up here like crazy. I've been at the pad many times in the past few weeks, and it's almost the same speed there right now as it is at Starbase, Texas, with building up infrastructure. The Star Factory at Roberts Road is growing like crazy right now, so it becomes very obvious that SpaceX doesn't just want to stay at Starbase, which they couldn't anyway, because a lot of launch trajectories you can't simply do out of Boca Chica, and for launches to the moon and Mars, NASA already is involved and they are not in Boca Chica, and so they will want to do these kinds of launches out of Kennedy Space Center. And SpaceX seems very confident in the Starship working, in the Starship idea functioning in the not too distant future, and so they are building up infrastructure like crazy. And of course, it's a blast for us because I had a few worries if this was the right place to go to, if it wouldn't have been better to go to Texas, and to live there. With 3 kids, Boca Chica isn't the right place, though, so we decided to go to Florida, which is just better for the family because you can do more here. There's more infrastructure. It's not as remote as Boca Chica, Texas is, but I was worried if I would miss out because even though it's on the same continent, the United States is big, so a trip to Boca Chica for me still is at least 6 to 7 hours, and at least 400 to 500 euros of traveling expenses each time I'm going. So But yeah, no, it wasn't. And SpaceX is doing a lot of stuff here at the Kennedy Space Center for Starships. And so we want to pay close attention. And so we're going often. Yeah. And I love it every time.
What major changes have you seen at Starbase Florida?
Oh, the Star Factory itself is speeding up the construction progress. It's arguably faster than at Starbase Texas right now. Like every other day, or every other week, if you compare the pictures, the progress is really, really fast. It's very interesting to see that Starship and Falcon 9 are so close together here at the Cape, which isn't the case at Starbase Texas either. So you find Hangar X right next to the Star Factory that is being erected right now, which is a very, very interesting thing for me. Every time we do a helicopter flight, you don't just see Starship launch tower segments and Star Factories being built. You also have like 3 boosters in the same frame, which is super interesting for us. And then of course Mechazilla, it's got a lot of changes. The recent most change that I found was that the drawworks that pulls up the chopsticks that are going to catch the boosters is a slightly different attachment. The chopsticks are smaller. There is lots of difference there compared to Starbase Texas. So, and that's just born out of necessity, because Pad 39A is already taken for a few other things right now. It's Falcon 9 and it's NASA's lifeline to the ISS. And so SpaceX has to do a few things differently there. So it's going to be very interesting to see the 2 pads in Texas and in Florida evolve, and what kind of role they are playing in the grand scheme of SpaceX planning out future Starship missions and so on. So yeah.
The chopstick one is truly weird. I don't even know what to think of it at this point.
Okay, so the design is actually exactly the same, besides them missing one segment of girder structure on the chopsticks themselves. So it's exactly the same chopsticks, just about 2/3 or maybe even half of the length. And so it's not a redesign. A few people out there have been talking about a redesign about an improved design and so on and so forth. It really isn't. It's just they are smaller. That's the whole change. And I do think that could be, of course, it's all speculation right now. It could be due to SpaceX not wanting to catch boosters or Starships at Pad 39A right now. I know that would be contrary to Elon Musk's idea of launching 3 Starships a day, but it might be born out of necessity. Because as I said before, NASA plays a very important part at 39A. It is their lifeline to the ISS, and they will not want to endanger it. But on the other hand, it's right now SpaceX's only option to launch Starships out of Kennedy Space Center. I know you could modify Slick 40. You could either human rate that or modify it for boosters to be caught there or for Starships to launch from there, but that takes time. So that would be at least a year or 2 out, because you have to have a financing for the equipment you have to build there, for the infrastructure. You have to have a human rating, and that's a process, and processes at NASA take time, and so on and so forth. Then we have another option called Pad 49, which isn't even built yet, and the environmental assessment hasn't even started yet there. So that would take even more time. We're talking about 2 to 3 years until you can launch something from there. So even though there are tons of launch pads at Kennedy Space Center, 39A is the one where SpaceX can right now possibly launch Starships. So imagine NASA approaching SpaceX and telling them, hey guys, so 39A is really important for us, and we do not want you to endanger the pad because that's our lifeline to the ISS, but we get you that you want to launch Starships out of Kennedy Space Center, and we want that too, because we want you to do the lunar missions, we want you to proceed towards Mars, and if you can't launch anywhere except for Boca Chica, you're going to be in trouble if that takes 2 to 3 years for you to build a pad here. So we're going to be fair. We're going to let you launch Starships out of 39A, even though that endangers the pad, but we're not going to allow you to catch them. And I think that is the whole idea behind the shorter chopsticks. So it's not a redesign or anything. It's just born out of negotiations between SpaceX and NASA. But again, that is complete speculation right there. It's all logical, but it's complete speculation. There is no proof for it yet, besides NASA saying that they are hesitant to let SpaceX launch Starships out of 39A because it could endanger the launch structure that they need to service the ISS. That is the only official proof in that whole chain of thought. So, yeah. But I don't think it's a redesign and that they're confident in catching boosters, and that's why they made smaller chopsticks, because they haven't even caught a booster yet. That would them predicting the future, and that wouldn't be SpaceX. So, yeah, it's hard to say.
Yep, sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's a negotiation between NASA and SpaceX. Both want something, and both want to get together.
What launch are you looking forward to most in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, all right. That depends on how fast the Starship program moves. If they manage in the next 5 years to launch towards Mars, that is it. Doesn't even have to be crew, even cargo would be amazing in my opinion. So that would be the launch I would look forward to the most if it happens. If that doesn't happen, it would be a Starship launch towards the moon. If that doesn't happen, it would be the orbital launch in a month. So all three would be Starship related. Like I said much earlier in this talk, SLS is going to be beautiful to see launch, but I am deeply convinced that it is already outdated. So it's going to be beautiful to see, and I'm glad that they are launching it and so on and so forth. But my engineering interest and my space exploration interest and all of that right now is solely almost focused on Starship. So I'm looking forward to all those milestones, and however far they can reach, that is going to be my favorite launch to look forward to. So I'm hoping for Mars. Maybe cargo to Mars in the next 5 years would be great to see.
Yep, thank you. That is all the questions, I think, yeah.
For me, I would say I really want to see a Falcon Heavy double landing. That's something you may not see in 5 years.
Yep.
When it's outdated.
Yep. Agreed. That would be great to see. There's a few other things. I mean, I know my answer was quite kind of boring, all just Starship. There's quite a few. I like Neutron from Rocket Lab and Relativity Space, Terran R. There's plenty of stuff in the pipeline that's going to be well worth watching. But if it comes to it's like asking for the favorite movie. It's like, yeah, that one's really great. But if we're talking sci-fi, it would be this one. And if it's horror movies, it's that one, and so on and so forth. But in general, if it comes down to one launch, it's that Mars launch, It's like Starships going fully fueled, heading out towards Mars.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much, Felix.
You're welcome.
It was a great chat with you. People can find you over at YouTube on the channel What About It. So if for some reason you haven't seen Felix, go there. We'll link it in the description.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me. And just ask again whenever you want to hear my opinion. Oh, well, that's just because it's not even Starship, it's SpaceX in general, and they've been, and see, there's somebody coming in. That's Steffi.
I forgot about it. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
Steffi can come say hi. Hi, Steffi.
Buran. Bye. Okay, let me just do the answer again. We can cut after the question because that's a pretty good question. Okay, so, or you could, or 41. I'm always confusing the two. Where are the Falcon rockets launching from? Is it 40 or 41?
41.
41. Okay, so you could human.
No, wait.
Or is I'm always confusing them. Is 41 for ULA or for well, okay, so the Space Launch Complex besides 39A where Falcon 9 rockets are launched from. You could